So you're contemplating moving to Ottawa. I've spent 10 years living in Toronto, another 10 years living in Vancouver, and now 15 years here in Ottawa, which makes me uniquely qualified to provide my list of the top pros and cons of living in Ottawa. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Belanger. I'm a realtor here in Ottawa, and I obviously help families find their dream homes in their dream neighborhoods. So if that is of interest to you, I'll leave all my contact details below, and I'll help you make that happen. So let's dive in. What we're going to do is we're going to alternate one pro, one con, and we're going to march through 5 of each and hope that this gives you just a bit of extra context as you contemplate moving to Ottawa. Okay, the first pro on my list is the quality of life in Ottawa. So there's just over 1 million people in Ottawa, and it is considered a white-collar government town. We have less manufacturing than you're going to find in other cities, and it is really a highly educated city. 345,000 people have a university degree. Another 157,000 have a college degree. So you combine the two together, over half the population have at minimum a college degree. Furthermore, Ottawa has, on a per capita basis, the most PhDs and MBA grads than any other city in Canada on a per capita basis. So that is really encouraging. The net result of all of that is the household income. The median household income is at the very highest in Canada. It is $102,000. Again, the median household income. So you got 50% of the families that'll make more, 50% of the families that will make less, but that should give you a good indication on where you and your family stand before contemplating moving to Ottawa. So it is at the very highest. That said, high income, white collar town, the cost of living is my con number 1 when you look at it purely from a costing perspective. Ottawa, what a lot of people don't realize, is the 3rd most expensive city from a real estate perspective behind Vancouver and Toronto. Everybody knows Vancouver and Toronto is extremely expensive. Ottawa ranks number 3. It's about 30% less expensive than Toronto, so that's really good, but it is expensive nonetheless. To dip your toe in the Ottawa real estate market, at time of recording, the average home last month sold for approximately $680,000. So if you're a recent grad, for example, you're going to find it very expensive. There's a website called Numbeo. Numbeo lists the cost of living. If you're a single person, you can expect to pay $1,525 all in on everything excluding rent. Another $1,900 on rent if you're looking for rent in the downtown core. You add the two together, it's going to cost you approximately $3,500. If you're a family of 4, you can expect to pay over $5,000, and then on top of that, $3,000 in rent on average. So again, you'll find properties with having to pay more, some will be paying less, but you are looking at somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000 for a family of 4, which is expensive. So luckily, our average income is up to offset the cost of living, but the cost of living as a category is definitely con number 1 on my list. Pro number 2 on my list, we've got to talk about the stability factor that you can only find in Ottawa, being that it's the nation's capital and a government town. Again, 1 million people in Ottawa. We have 130,000 public servants. So 130,000 people employed by the federal government. On top of that, all these companies, all these sales reps, all these consultants that are trying to sell into the government will add a huge layer of the population that are supporting nothing but the federal government. On top of that, we have a suburb called Canada, and Canada has been dubbed Silicon Valley North. You're looking at a suburb with 540 organizations that employ 25,000 people, all within a 5-kilometer radius. So if you are in high tech, defense, aerospace, life sciences, anything along those lines, and you're looking to potentially get a job transfer here in Ottawa, you're probably going to be looking at Canada or somewhere between Canada and or the downtown core. On top of that, 430,000 people immigrated to Canada last year. 17,000 of those people made Ottawa home. So where are they going to live? So 17,000 there. You've got a huge, massive high-tech sector, and then on top of that, you've got the feds and everybody that is working and supporting the federal government. So that stability factor here can only be found in Ottawa, and the result of that is you're going to have less swings in the real estate market. You're going to find slower, steady growth in Ottawa and less of the violent swings that you will find in a lot of the other larger urban cities. So definitely pro number 2 in my books. Con number 2. We've talked about the stability and the income and highly educated people. That comes with the fact that Ottawa has gained a reputation to be a little bit boring from a nightlife perspective. There's a lot to do here. We've got museums, we've got the outdoor skating rink, there's just a ton of stuff to do. What I'm talking about specifically is the nightlife. In comparison to Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, it is definitely lacking. It seems to me, and maybe it's just because I'm older, I don't know, but it seems to me 10 o'clock at night, it is quiet. You're gonna see less hustle and bustle, and you're gonna not hear the people out on the streets as much. It is definitely quieter with less options from a nightlife perspective. So if you're moving to Ottawa and this is part of your search criteria, or you're in your early 20s and you don't have a family yet or whatever, and this is what you're looking for, this is not the #1 destination in Canada from a cultural nightlife perspective. From my perspective, I'm one of those people. I am boring. I'm in my 50s. I'm in bed by 10 o'clock. So for me, this is not an issue, but there are people out there where this is on their search criteria, and you're going to find that there's other options. Pro number 3 on my list, we have to say it. I love this one, crime rates. Let's talk about crime rates just a little bit. OPS, which is Ottawa Police Services, they issue a report every year that talk about the violent crimes, the non-violent crimes, crimes against people, crimes against property, and so on. And they measure the severity of the crime as well as the frequency of the crime, and it issues a score. Every city does this, and that score gets put onto the crime rate index so that you can compare the scores to other cities. The national average from a crime rate index perspective is 74. Ottawa clocks in at a 54, so it is substantially less. So obviously, the lower the number, the better. So Ottawa at a 54 is better. To put that into context, Vancouver scores a 92. Toronto scores a 61, which isn't bad, all things considered. Calgary scores a 77, Montreal scores a 78. So Ottawa's 54 has to be considered on your list or your search criteria if this is important to you. And it kind of makes sense when you think about it. Huge middle class, high net worth people, stable jobs, white collar town, government town. So it kind of makes sense that the crime rates are lower. But from my perspective, I think this is brilliant. I think everybody should not sleep on this particular factor, which makes this my pro number 3. Okay, con number 3. This isn't a con necessarily, this is just more of a frustration. Having lived in Ottawa and the saga that has become the LRT system, we've gotta talk about it. Now, using LRT is not a con. A lot of people depend on LRT systems. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fiasco that is the LRT system and the news cycle and the negative press that it got as a result of its initial launch back in September of 2019. For those that don't know, we launched in September, over budget, of course, and a year late, of course, but I'm not even talking about that. The system, the LRT system glitched right from the get-go, where the doors weren't opening and closing properly. Then we roll into the winter and the tracks are freezing, the wheels are falling off, it's causing delays. People's confidence issues were eroding quickly with the LRT system. It was getting national press, obviously, and it was a look that Ottawa didn't want. And these delays happened consistently through the launch 2019, 2020, 2021. There's been issues with the LRT system phase 1 from the get-go. Today, there's a public inquiry. People are trying to figure out who authorized specific decisions. It's become a little bit of a mess. Now, I'm putting this on my cons list because, again, if you're contemplating moving to Ottawa, you got to know the history. You're going to run into some people that are going to be talking about this. We are about or in the middle of launching phase 2, which is good, obviously. But if phase 2 is as bad as phase 1, particularly from a PR perspective, you know we are in big trouble. So I'm putting this out there, just know it. This probably affects about 10 or 15% of the population that use public transit or LRT systems, so maybe 85% it won't even matter. But just know the context before moving to Ottawa, and for that reason, this whole fiasco reason, I'm putting it in as my con number 3. Okay. Pro number 4 on my list, we're going to talk about the NCC, the National Capital Commission. It holds significant importance to the people in Ottawa for several reasons. 1, conservation of green spaces. The NCC plays a crucial role in preserving and maintaining Ottawa's green spaces, such as parks, forests, and natural areas. These green spaces enhance the quality of life for residents, providing recreational opportunities, promoting physical and mental well-being, and contributing to the overall beauty and attractiveness of the city. 2, urban planning and development. The NCC is involved in the planning and development of the capital region, ensuring a balanced approach to urban growth, infrastructure, and community development. They work to create a cohesive and livable neighborhoods, protect heritage sites, and promote sustainable development practices that contribute to the city's overall livability and vibrancy. 3, stewardship of cultural and heritage assets. Ottawa is home to numerous cultural and heritage assets such as Parliament, the Rideau Canal, national museums, and so on. NCC plays a role in managing and preserving these assets, ensuring their protection, maintenance, and the appropriate use. This fosters a strong sense of pride and identity among Ottawa residents and contributes to the city's cultural significance. 4, waterfront management. Ottawa is blessed with beautiful waterfront areas along the Ottawa River and the Rideau Canal. The NCC is responsible for managing and enhancing these waterfront spaces, ensuring public access, protecting their ecological integrity, and creating opportunities for leisure activities and events. This makes the city more attractive for both residents and visitors alike. I don't know about you, but the NCC is obviously only available in Ottawa, being it's the government town, nation's capital, but I, for one, like the services that they are offering, and it adds to that vibrancy being a Ottawa resident. Okay, we're getting to the end here. Con number 4. Con number 4, this is a pros and cons list. We're in Ottawa, it's a winter nation after all. We got to talk about the weather. Quickly, let's just quantify that. We are the 6th coldest capital city in the world. Our weather ranges from plus 30 degrees Celsius to minus 30 degrees Celsius. Minus 30 degrees Celsius, if you're not used to that, is no joke. That is cold. Our winter months, let's call it December to March, will range between minus 15, minus 20 degrees, which is cold. Minus 30 is next level cold. If you're not used to that, the point I'm trying to make is buy the boots, buy the jacket, buy the hat and the gloves. Do not make that first winter here in Ottawa a miserable one. Do yourself a favor and purchase the high quality gear. Now, we just talked about the NCC. The NCC goes out of their way to make the winter months really enjoyable. We got Winterlude, we got the world's largest skating rink in the Rideau Canal. The city of Ottawa has skating rinks in every single neighborhood in the city. So if the kids want to play hockey or go for a skate, that's all available. So if you're not embracing the winter months here, you're doing it wrong. So my point again, buckle up, just buy that extra gear. You will not regret it. Okay. 5th and final pro and a con all in one, we're going to talk about the traffic. Having lived in Toronto and in Vancouver, this is a non-starter for me. This is not an issue. Local Ottawans that are born and raised here think it is an issue. I'm here to tell you that it is not. I'm going to give you a couple of stats. 27% of the population, the commuting population, commute less than 15 minutes. 42% of the commuting population commute less than 30 minutes. An additional 20% commute less than 45 minutes. So now you're talking 85% of the population commute less than 45 minutes. The only time traffic is an issue is immediately in the morning getting to the downtown core, and of course leaving the downtown core between 4 and 5 o'clock. So in that sense, yeah, it's going to be about 45 minutes. You've got to get used to calling your spouse, listening to the news, getting caught up on some sports, making a few phone calls, whatever. It is what it is. But in comparison to Toronto, you leave at 2 in the afternoon, 3, 4, 5, it doesn't matter. You're gonna feel the congestion. Same thing in Vancouver. It is what it is. It's just a much larger city with a lot more people having to commute, but you're going to feel it. Now on the flip side of that is the local summer construction season. Canada being a winter nation, obviously, all of our renovations are done in the summertime. Doesn't matter which city you're going to be visiting. The city itself is going to be fixing like the potholes, the on-ramps, the off-ramps, the bridges, and so on. It feels like no matter where you go in Ottawa, the construction crews are there. They're going to slow down the traffic. They're going to direct you where you need to go. It feels like it's heavy here in Ottawa because we don't have as many highways as we do in other large cities. So it just feels like it's a lot. But I'm here to tell you again, it's not as bad as in most other cities, but it is annoying nonetheless in some cases in the summertime. So if you like this kind of content, give it a thumbs up. It helps the YouTube algorithm. I would really appreciate it. And I look forward to providing more videos in the future. And until then, take care.